Hey everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you are all doing well. For today, I will be conducting a brief astrological analysis and interpretation of Kadeem Hardison, Joe Morton, and Jasmine Guy's past life relationship. This broadcast was inspired by Kadeem and Jasmine's Breakfast Club interview, which they had a few weeks ago, commemorating the 35th anniversary of A Different World, where they discussed the cast, their chemistry, the politics, and the infamous wedding scene where Kadeem Hardison's character, Dwayne, pledged his undying love for Jasmine Guy's character, Whitley Gilbert, while she was at the altar with Joe Morton's character, Byron, who was her groom. But before I begin, some announcements. The introductory course is still on track to be available on October 17th. I'm just shopping for the best learning management system to plug the information into, which seems to be the most challenging part at this point because they're all similar but have distinct differences that make it difficult to choose. So you can still book an astrology and a tarot reading for the time being. I think my availability to do readings will change once the course is launched because I'll be grading assessments and responding to questions and feedback from students in the months to come. So for this discussion, I'm going to refer to my 5 pages of notes because there's a lot to cover and I don't want to forget anything, okay? Alright, so a couple of weeks ago on the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne asked about the wedding scene and talked about how convincing it was to the audience. I remember watching this scene with my parents, and I was like 5 or 6 years old when the episode first aired. And then I remember the Essence magazine cover with Kadeem and Jasmine shortly thereafter. My mom used to have a subscription to Essence magazine when I was a kid. I thought Kadeem and Jasmine were a real couple because in my young mind, I believed what I saw. And this is very important because the spirit world does not differentiate between the immaterial and the material. What you believe, visualize, and give your energy to becomes real, period. So Kadeem was like, he did not believe in that particular wedding scene because, he said it didn't make sense. And most women would not go for that. Most women would not tolerate or respect their ex interrupting their wedding, especially after he had ample opportunity and time to get it together before the ceremony. But the producers and writers insisted that he go through with the plot along with another suggestion he made to visit Whitley's house the night before. Kadeem said he was so nervous because of the anticipation and emotional buildup of the scene and because he did not believe in it. He said he forgot the lyrics or the wedding vows because of nervousness and then shouted, "Baby, please." Remember that? "Baby, please," in desperation because he didn't want to start over, which was Whitley's cue to let go of Byron's hand and run towards Dwayne. Everyone in the audience went crazy, yay, knowing damn well in real life they would be tight if their ex-boyfriend tried to ruin their wedding, okay? But for some reason, we all wanted Dwayne, the underdog, to win Whitley's heart. So now on to this dream I had, okay? So a few years ago, like 2016, 2017, I had a dream about Jasmine, Joe, and Kadeem. They were all in a medieval style courtyard having some sort of discussion or negotiation. I couldn't hear any voices. I was just aware of the dynamic between the three of them, okay? So I had the sense that this occurred centuries ago based on the muted colors of the scene. It was like a painting with fading pigments, okay? But anyway, at the end of the negotiation, I saw Jasmine walk towards Joe Morton, and then the scene begins to fade away, and I'm being pulled backwards away from them towards consciousness. I guess I was like eavesdropping or peering into what was happening, and I wasn't supposed to be there. But as they fade from view, right, and all 3 of these people fade from my view, I can't see them anymore, 2 large medieval oil paintings of Kadeem and Joe slide up from the ground towards me, okay? So they slide up slowly and then they push forward towards me slightly. Joe Morton is on the left and Kadeem is on the right, which probably means it was reversed, okay? And what's very interesting is that they were both wearing royal garments. Joe Morton was wearing a large black and white turban, a large black robe with white and black fur accents, and silver and gold regalia, jewelry medallions, etc. Kadeem Hardison was wearing a small black and brown turban, a dark brown and black bear fur robe. It was sparsely ornamented with red flowers that were really small, hanging like tassels from his robe, and they seemed to be floating around him. Both Joe Morton and Kadeem Hardison had long black hair, but Kadeem's hair was in long micro braids with small feathers, red feathers attached to the end of them. So anyway, as the portraits are sliding upwards and towards me, Kadeem Hardison says, "I'm going to get her next time." That's what the voice in his portrait said. "I'm going to get her next time." And his voice is echoing in my head as I'm waking up, right? I'm coming back into consciousness, and this dream stuck with me up until today. And this was several years ago. So Joe Morton was silent, but he exuded a quiet power and strength that Kadeem did not have. Kadeem's energy was that of a boy king. He was solar, generous, kind, sweet, and even impish, right? But Joe Morton's energy was not like that at all, okay? So at the time, I did not know why I had that particular dream, and I hadn't watched A Different World for years at that point. So these people were not even in the forefront of my consciousness. I wasn't even thinking about them, to be honest. But I have accessed the Akasha records before, so I bookmarked this experience for future reference. So now, fast forward to a couple weeks ago, after watching this interview with Kadeem and Jasmine, I decided to see if there was a past life connection between the three of them. So I looked at the nodes, the 12th house, and Pluto, Saturn, Neptune aspects between the three of them. And what I found was very interesting. So according to astrotheme.com, Jasmine Guy was born on March 10th, 1962 at 4:11 in Boston, Massachusetts. Kadeem Hardison was born on July 24th, 1965 in Brooklyn, New York, and Joe Morton was born in Harlem, New York on October 18th, 1947. I don't have the time for Kadeem and Joe, so I'm going to see if any of their personal planets are placed in Jasmine's 12th house, or if there are any aspects to Venus, Mars, Saturn, or Pluto energy between them. Venus for love, Mars for competition and warfare, Saturn for karma, authority, and obstacles, and Pluto for magnetic power and obsession. Jasmine Guy's sun is in Pisces, her moon is in Taurus, and her ascendant is in Virgo, based on the information provided. Her north node is in Leo, which is her 12th house, and her south node is in Aquarius, which is her 6th house. Jasmine has a stellium of planets in her 6th house of work, health habits, and everyday routines. So it is safe to say that she has had a past life connection with her co-workers. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them are from her past life. The 12th house, which is where her north node is the house of past lives. The subconscious, dreams, fantasies, death and endings, illness, television, media, imagination, and the invisible empire. It is governed by Neptune, who is the lord of the invisible empire, okay? The north node represents the experience, knowledge, and skills we are acquiring for future incarnations. It's the journey, not the destination. It represents a compulsive drive to attain that which the sign and the house of the north node represent for future lifetimes, right? But once we reach that goal, whether it's getting a new home or getting married or having a new career or whatever, a job, a relationship, we're never satisfied with the North Node because we're just collecting data in preparation for future lifetimes. Detachment is the lesson when we're dealing with the nodes or Rahu and Ketu. And if you've ever been through your 18-year Rahu Mahadasha cycle, you will become painfully aware of this. But anyway, Jasmine's future experiences are in the house of the past lives. She also has Uranus on the North Node in the 12th house. Now, you're probably not going to find this information anywhere online, but my intuition is telling me that Uranus on the North Node in the 12th represents time travel. Uranus is the planet of the future, electricity, television, transportation, eccentricity, independence, and the rule breaker. And it's in Jasmine's 12th house of past lives. I wouldn't be surprised if Jasmine is a time traveler and doesn't even know it. Like most of us don't know anything about our oversouls, okay? So I wonder if Uranus in the 12th house also breaks the laws of physics as it relates to energy transference. Okay, so that's just me speculating at this point. Jasmine has a Pisces sun and Virgo ascendant, which to me is the axis of the high priestess, the oracle, the magician, the spiritual healer, or the prostitute. I talked about this briefly in my astrological analysis of Kim Kardashian's chart, who has a moon in Pisces, which is her father's ancestry for her. Okay. Virgo is the most psychic sign of the zodiac, as their 12th house is illuminated like the sun, just as Kadim's sun in Leo shows a bright light on Jasmine's 12th house. Virgo is opposed by Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, and co-ruled by Neptune. Jasmine's sun sign ruler is the ruler of her North Node 12th house, and her ascendant sign governs the 6th house, which is where her South Node is located. Okay? All right. So now Kadim Hardison has the sun in Leo and Venus in Leo. His Venus falls in Jasmine's 12th house of secret affairs, unrequited love, past life romantic interactions, affairs, adultery, etc. Joe Morton also has a lot of placements in Jasmine's 12th house. He has Mars, Pluto, and Saturn in Leo, basically bogarting Jasmine for himself and cock-blocking Kadim's energy with his superior power. Remember when I talked about the painting and I described how powerful Joe Morton looked? In my opinion, a Plutonian ruler is not the same as a solar ruler. A Plutonian ruler harnesses ancient power that is inherited from his ancestor. He's the king of all kings, a hidden ruler so mighty and fearsome that he's rarely seen, but he's omniscient and omnipresent, with power granted to him by light and dark forces. In my opinion, a Plutonian king has power over the unseen realm and the seen realm, material and spiritual. Okay, he's that dude. In contrast, a solar ruler like Kadim would be is a bit more ostentatious, approachable, visible, outgoing, and democratic. He is of the people, by the people, for the people. Joe Morton's power was not the same as Kadim's power, although they're both royals. I forgot to mention that in ancient times, the royal wife had to be a diviner with inherited gifts such as an oracle, a healer, an astrologer, or a priestess. Her job was to protect the king from behind the scenes with her gifts for premonition and healing. This is one of the reasons why there were so many gypsies in medieval Europe. Albion women and harems were taught the craft by Moorish women. But anyway, the high priestess chose her king. She couldn't be strong-armed into marrying anyone. As a matter of fact, kings demonstrated their power by their ability to woo and seduce the woman into choosing them, which I believe Joe Morton did with Jasmine in a past life. She impressed him with his knowledge and his power. And Joe Morton is extremely commanding and sexy as a person, right? At one point during the interview, Jasmine Guy said that Joe Morton kissed her during rehearsal, which went against her golden rule while on set. No kissing prior to taping. And Kadim felt some kind of way about that because she had enforced this rule with him from day one. So Kadim was upset that he didn't get the chance to kiss Whitley whenever he felt like it during rehearsal. And Joe Morton, a guest, popped up on the scene and he just took control of the situation because that's his woman. Period. Okay? So I looked at their charts again, and Joe's Venus in Scorpio is on Jasmine's Neptune in Scorpio, which is the ruler of her 12th house, even though it's in Leo. Furthermore, Joe's Pluto, Mars, and Saturn are in her 12th house. Not only did they have a past life together, he was more powerful than her. He had an intense, passionate, and possessive relationship. Now, after I looked at their charts, right, I decided to do a little bit more research, and I found another interview where Jasmine said that she had a huge crush on Joe Morton, which I did not know. Right? And this is why she let him kiss her. She kind of fell into old habits and routines that have played out between them in their past lives. Okay? But again, when somebody's Pluto, Mars, and Saturn is in your 12th house, you really have no control over yourself around them. They control your subconscious mind. You dream about them and lust after them whether you want to or not. Period. They have a lot of control over you. Okay? As a side note, right? Diane Carroll played Jasmine Guy's mother, who did not want her to marry Dwayne. I looked up Diane's chart. And Diane's moon in Aquarius is on Jasmine's south node. The moon on the south node is definitely a past life familial relationship. Mother, grandmother, spiritual teacher, whatever. Someone who had a close, intimate relationship with the south node person, right? In one of her earliest Broadway reviews, Diane Carroll was described as a regal tour de force. Now, where would the grandchild of slaves and sharecroppers learn to become regal? People forget that there's a hierarchy in the spiritual realm as well. There are spirits that are royals with more rank, power, beauty, magnetism, etc. than other spirits. And when these royal spirits reincarnate, they have a very commanding presence regardless of their social station, okay? So what's even more interesting is that Jim's Mars in Leo is conjunct Kadim's Sun and Venus in Leo, and Kadim's Mars in Libra is conjunct Jim's Sun. In Libra, there's a mutual Sun conjunct Mars aspect between the two, right? A double whammy. There was definitely competition between these two men in past lives because Leo is Jasmine's 12th house, which again is the house of past lives and behind the scenes event. And Mars is being played out here with these two men. Jasmine was so powerful in the past life. She has Pluto on her ascendant and in the sign that rules the 6th house, which is where her south node is. She was a bad woman, okay? Gorgeous, fierce, probably a psychic medium with the ability to channel people's energies and to be like a vessel for spirits to talk through to people, I guess. And this is why I believe she's such a phenomenal actress, writer, and dancer today. In medieval times, she'd be considered a prize and an asset to the king for her abilities before the colonialists took over and the Europeans and Romans decided to basically destroy the matriarchy and put women under the thumb of men to take our power from us and to subjugate us, okay? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Kadeem Hardison forgot the lyrics to the wedding vows because he wasn't ready to claim Jasmine as his queen yet. Not in this lifetime. He is going through experiences now to prepare him for a future encounter with Jasmine and Joe again. Okay? The sun is the most visible planet in the solar system, and it rules Leo, the sign of the king, right? The celebrity and the infamous and the famous. Kadeem's identity as a king is in Jasmine's house of past lives and behind the scenes events. Joe Morton's Pluto is also that of a king. Okay, people don't ascribe Pluto to rulership for some reason. I don't know why. Some do, but Pluto is like ultimate, supreme, super duper power, hidden power and wealth that is immense and formidable because usually magic is involved. Okay, so anyway, Dwayne Wayne's son shed a light on a past life dynamic that he shared with Jasmine and Joe, and because their interaction played out in her 12th house, even though we saw it, right, but it played out in her 12th house. The connection between them was presumed to be fantastical in nature, even though many of us believed that their relationship was real, which is as good as gold in the spiritual realm, because as I said before, there is no differentiation between what we imagine and what is actually happening when it comes to the spiritual realm, period. So even though we saw these people on TV, this was something that was being played out from a past life. But because it was on TV, right? And TV is not really real, is it? I mean, television is basically images being transmitted via electricity over the airwaves, which are invisible. So there is magic in television too. So to close it out, right? It has not escaped me that a different world took place on a college campus, an institution for higher learning. And Kadeem, in my opinion, was learning how to become the king he's destined to be in future lifetimes to capture the affections of Jasmine. But, you know, he's a little bit shy, right? I saw in the interview, he's not a very boisterous, commanding presence. He's very gentle, sweet, and kind. And I think that he needs to develop the confidence to take his position as the king and Jasmine as his wife in the future incarnations. He wasn't ready to do that now. What he's going through now is preparing him for that future encounter with these three. I don't know if he's going to win again because Joe, Pluto, Mars, and Saturn is like an iron grip, a vice grip. Like this is like a damn seal of Solomon. Okay, this is something that's almost unbreakable, right? So anyway, it's going to be hard for Kadeem to do that in the next lifetime because Joe's energy, he is a formidable person. Even now as an actor, he's very formidable, but in the spiritual realm, he's high ranking from what I'm seeing in his chart, right? And this interaction between the three and a dream that I had. Anyway, so I honestly believe that what we saw on our TV screens 30 years ago was a replay of a past life dynamic between Jasmine, Jim, and Kadeem. And these three will meet again in the future. I believe that Jim and Kadeem both chased Jasmine into this lifetime, and all three of them are energetically and karmically attached. Okay, so more than likely they will definitely follow her into her next incarnation because of their personal planets on her north node, right? I think the audience members who were screaming when Dwayne interrupted the wedding, they were like spirits egging him on, like, go, 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 get your woman, go, go, go. They could have been there with him in past lives as well, right? Because again, he was a king in the past life, but he had a smaller kingdom and less power. He was a younger man. He had not yet gone through the trials and tribulations that Joe Morton had, right? Joe Morton had like Emperor Pharaonic energy. And, you know, Kadeem Hardison was like a king, like the King of Wands versus the Emperor, or versus the Death card, right? If you see the Death card in tarot, the Pope is even begging death for mercy. Okay, that's Pluto. That is not the sun, right? Becoming real, right? This is the aspect that Martel and Arion have in their relationship. They're together, they're having sex, but it's not really, they're not committed to each other, because the North Node is about the future. One or both parties is not secure about their role or place in that person's life. So the relationship has a hard time manifesting into something concrete in the current lifetime. So Kadeem's Venus is in this aspect on Jasmine's North Node in her 12th house. This is something that has played out in the past, and it played out again in this lifetime, and it's going to play out again in the next lifetime, unless he gets it together and gets his confidence up so that he can get the woman that he really wants to be with, okay? And so, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. If you want to order an astrological reading that's pre-recorded or a tarot reading, you can go to my website. The link is in the description box. You can see it on your screen as well. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon. Oh, one more thing. A Venus conjunct the North Node is the I guess I'll see you next lifetime aspect. Relationships with Venus conjunct the North Node have a difficult time